The last time I did a video essay about video games, it made the racist geeks' heads explode, so I'm long overdue to tackle the subject again. In case you've been wondering if the Black historical movement has been heard and affecting anything outside of our immediate circle, I can confirm for you that it has. A recent video game release and a highly anticipated upcoming release have confirmed this with capital letters. The first is Uncharted 4. Naughty Dog recently released what will be the last entry in the series, A Thief's End. Long story short, Nathan Drake has to run around the globe to discover the location of the ultimate treasure. This time, it's a bunch of old pirates who hid all their loot on a remote island. The island was ruled by a group of elite pirates who ran the island like their own government. As it turns out, a few of these elite pirates weren't white. In fact, not only is one of them not white, he was a black man. In the game, he's called Tariq bin Malik. And to leave no doubt, Nathan Drake clearly identifies him as a Moor based on his attire. Now, we have daily arguments with Euroclowns who try to argue that attire means nothing, and they've made a good show of being bold in their denunciations. Well, here, in a popular medium that they thought catered to their shallow egos and fragile psyches, we see the truth that we've always proclaimed being echoed. This is a brief portion of the game to be sure, but it is there, and there's no attempt to downplay it. The second example comes from the recently announced Battlefield 1. This time, the game takes place during World War I. I've studied the Great War, watched the trailer, and frankly, absolutely nothing stood out about the trailer at all until they got to the end and showed the character who appears on all the key art for the game. He is clearly, undeniably a black man. I don't like that DICE snubbed the Harlem Hellfighters by not featuring them in the trailer itself. However, they have made sure that whenever you try to order or look up information on Battlefield 1, there he is. And when you look at the selection of pre-order bonus material, you'll find that there's an entire Hellfighter package. And there's a miniature statue of the Hellfighter that you can get for a few shekels more. This is not meant to be an endorsement for Battlefield 1. I don't really play video games like that and don't intend to buy it, but after the trailer dropped and everyone saw that image of a Harlem Hellfighter, the interest in that unit skyrocketed. The number of YouTube videos and website postings about them has multiplied enormously. However, the people who had decided to comment on the Hellfighters are mostly white, so of course the only thing they talk about is the discrimination the Hellfighters faced during the war, totally ignoring their incredible valor. Once again, even when they get it right, they still get it wrong. This is why it's a mistake to try to learn your history from anonymous mopes on video game channels. In fact, you find that even in places that ought to know better, the information on the 369th is scattered. The U.S. Army website credits the Hellfighters with 191 days on the front lines, but that's not the whole story by a long shot. It's our old friends over at the White History Channel who noted that the unit spent more days in combat than any other unit of the war. They were the first unit of any nation, much less any color, to cross the Rhine into Germany, effectively ending the Great War. As Shannon Baker Moore put it in her book about them, the Harlem Hellfighters never lost a foot of ground and never had a man taken prisoner. Shame that General Pershing's lily white army couldn't say the same. The Harlem Hellfighters' accomplishments become even more amazing when you consider that out of a 2,100-man force, almost 1,500 of them had been killed or wounded. Humiliated by the success of the Hellfighters, the U.S. Army vehemently ignored their heroism, but the French government did not. The Croix de Guerre, the highest award the French could give, was awarded to the 369th as a unit and to a number of the Hellfighters individually. In a side note, the Hellfighters were not the only black men who fought in the Great War, nor were they the only ones to receive awards for their service. Eugene Bullard, a black man from Georgia, joined the French Foreign Legion, fought in the Battle of Verdun, and became a pilot in the Lafayette Squadron. If you saw the movie Flyboys, you know what they were about, Americans who volunteered to fly combat missions for the French. Bullard got 3 kills, making him a certified ace. He earned several awards, including the Croix de Guerre. The U.S. finally got into the war over 2.5 years after Bullard had already been fighting it. Bullard attempted to join the Army Air Corps, the predecessor to the U.S. Air Force, but he was turned down flat on account of his race. But, in a perverse but totally typical example of white people trying to erase their bigotry through token gestures, the U.S. Air Force Museum dedicated an exhibit to Bullard. What nerve! The same U.S. Air Force who didn't think him good enough for them during the war now wants to claim credit for his accomplishments in death, talking about him as if he was a U.S. pilot when in fact he was only able to fly for the French. And Eugene Bullard was far from the only black aviator in the Great War, but somehow I doubt that there will be any black pilots at all in Battlefield 1. It's what Jason and I have always told you regarding media. You don't use media or TV to teach history, but you can and should use it to ignite interest in history, which is what the Battlefield 1 trailer did. A lot of you probably hadn't heard of the Harlem Hellfighters before Battlefield 1's trailer, and what little you knew of them wasn't very specific. Max Brooks, the son of Mel Brooks, yes, that Mel Brooks, made a graphic novel about the Hellfighters, so once again, black people ignore our own heroes because white people tell us that they aren't important, and then those same white people come along and slap down big money for our heroes. How many times do I have to tell you? White supremacy is a con. By not valuing your heroes, the only thing you're doing is confirming to the dominant society that you're a beaten down, broken slave. White supremacy has no problem whatsoever promoting black heroism so long as they're the ones making the money off of it. American media saturates the world, and the world takes its cues from American media. If American media says something is true, the rest of the world, especially the white portion of it, will go right along with it and echo those falsehoods. But if the same American media changes its tune, then the world will also follow suit, even if it means contradicting what they were agreeing with just a few minutes before. This is no different than those crappy mummy movies from the 90s. Stephen Sommers was the first director in Hollywood history to depict the Magi as black men. I guess he must have looked at a map and seen that Egypt was in Africa. Prior to this, all the depictions of the Magi in books and novels were of Caucasoid characters, but after the release of that movie, this all changed overnight. So we see the reason the world is following lies like white Moors and the like is because there's no one out there counter-programming with the truth. It reminds me of what Elijah Muhammad said to Malcolm. If you offer a thirsty man dirty water, he'll drink it, if he has no other choice. It is our duty to present the world with that choice. In fact, the only option, which is the truth. Let these examples be a lesson to you. The dominant society fully understands the appeal of black characters, but they also understand that you don't know it. They understand the place our people have occupied in the recent and distant past, but we cannot wait until some video game developers tapped for ideas decide to finally use our history as fodder for their business. These are our heroes, our history, and our responsibility to safeguard and promote, because even in the hands of the most fair-minded liberal Europeans, the depiction will always be of our people as perpetual victims or unimportant side characters who are seen but never heard. We are not supporting cast or background characters in anyone's story. We are the stars, and the stage is ours. They know it, and you had better too.